Twins of Light and Shadow. On a warm February morning in Lagos, Nigeria, the bustling streets hummed with life as they did every day. Yet within the walls of a modest hospital, a miracle unfolded, one that would touch hearts far beyond the city limits. Stacy Almiron, a vibrant and creative fashion designer, lay in her hospital bed, eager to meet her twin boys. Her husband, Babajid, held her hand tightly, both of them brimming with anticipation. The room buzzed with the excitement of medical staff preparing for the delivery. When Daniel, the first twin, was born, Stacy's heart swelled with joy. His dark, curly hair and warm brown eyes mirrored his parents and older sister, Demolade. Moments later, as David arrived, the room fell silent. The nurse hesitated before placing him in Stacy's arms, her face a mix of awe and confusion. Stacy's gaze fell upon her second son, and she gasped. David's skin was pure white, almost luminous, and his hair was golden, like rays of sunlight. Though both boys shared identical features, their stark differences were undeniable. Babajid entered the room and froze at the sight of his sons. "How is this possible?" he whispered, his voice filled with wonder. The nurses and doctors exchanged knowing glances, explaining that David was born with oculocutaneous albinism, a rare condition affecting melanin production. Though stunned, Stacy and Babajid felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Their boys were healthy, and that was all that mattered. Stacy marveled at her twins. "Daniel and David," she said softly, "you are perfect. Light and shadow, two halves of a miracle." A world of curiosity. News of the twins spread quickly through Lagos. Whenever Stacy stepped out with her sons, strangers stopped her in the streets, their faces a mix of admiration and disbelief. "Madam, are both children yours?" they would ask. Stacy smiled patiently, replying, "Yes, they are. My blessings." Some even asked which child she belonged to, a question that stung. Yet Stacy's pride in her family was unshakable. "They are mine," she'd say firmly. "Both of them." The twins quickly became local celebrities. In markets, at banks, and in parks, people gathered to catch a glimpse of the unique siblings. Despite the attention, Stacy and Babajid worked hard to ensure their sons felt cherished for who they were, not just how they looked. Bond beyond differences. As Daniel and David grew, their bond deepened. They were each other's constant companions, sharing everything from toys to giggles. While their appearances set them apart, their hearts beat in harmony. Their older sister, Demolade, often acted as their protector, shielding them from curious stares or invasive questions. "They're just my brothers," she'd say proudly to anyone who asked. The twins loved playing soccer in the streets, their laughter echoing through the neighborhood. David, who was more sensitive to sunlight, often wore a wide-brimmed hat, but he never let it dampen his spirit. "I can outrun you even in this hat," he teased Daniel, who would respond with a playful tackle. Their father, Babajid, became their dance partner during family evenings. Together, they swayed to the rhythm of Afrobeat, their shared joy lighting up the room. "We may look different," Daniel once said, "but we move the same." Lessons from the twins. Stacy often reflected on the profound lessons her sons had taught her. In a society that sometimes struggled to accept differences, Daniel and David were a living testament to unity and diversity. They showed that love transcends appearances, that family is defined by bonds deeper than skin. The twins faced challenges too. David's albinism meant he needed extra protection from the sun and struggled with vision issues. Yet Stacy marveled at his resilience. "David teaches me strength," she often said, "and Daniel teaches me acceptance. Together, they teach the world." The boys' unique story began to inspire others. Families would stop Stacy to share their dreams of having children like hers. "They are a reminder that beauty comes in many forms," one woman told her, tears in her eyes. A new chapter. As the twins' fame grew, so did opportunities. A UK-based modeling agency reached out, captivated by their story. Though Stacy was hesitant at first, she realized the platform could allow her sons to spread a powerful message that differences should be celebrated, not feared. The family's first trip abroad was met with excitement and nerves. When they arrived in London for the photo shoot, the twins were fascinated by the bustling city. David marveled at the cold weather, while Daniel, ever the adventurer, couldn't wait to explore. The photo shoot was a success, with the boys charming everyone on set. The campaign that followed featured the twins alongside the words, "Unity in diversity, a world without boundaries." The message resonated deeply, sparking conversations about acceptance and inclusion across the globe. A legacy of love. Back in Lagos, life for the Omeron family returned to its familiar rhythm, though they carried with them the experiences and lessons of their journey. Stacy continued her work as a fashion designer, often inspired by her son's contrasting colors, creating collections that symbolized harmony. As the twins grew older, they began speaking at schools and events, sharing their story. "We may look different," David once said during a speech, "but inside, we're the same, and that's what matters." Daniel added, "Our differences make us special. Together, we show the world that love doesn't see color." The heart of the story. The story of Daniel and David is one of hope, resilience, and the beauty of embracing what makes us unique. It teaches us that while life may surprise us with its twists and turns, the greatest miracles often lie in the unexpected. Their journey reminds us to celebrate our differences, to love unconditionally, and to see beauty in every shade. For in the tapestry of life, it is the blending of colors that creates the most breathtaking masterpiece. And so, Daniel and David, twins of light and shadow, continue to inspire a world that desperately needs their lesson. That love knows no boundaries, and unity is found in embracing diversity, navigating challenges, and embracing purpose. As Daniel and David entered their school years, their unique story continued to unfold. While their bond as brothers remained unshakable, the outside world presented new challenges that would test their resilience and deepen their understanding of themselves and each other. Facing the outside world. School in Lagos was an exciting yet daunting new chapter for the twins. On the first day, as they stepped into the classroom, the other children froze, eyes wide with curiosity. Whispers rippled through the room. "Why does one of them look so different?" a child asked loudly. Daniel clenched his fists, protective of his brother, but before he could respond, David smiled. "Because I'm special, that's why," he said confidently, his bright demeanor diffusing the tension. Over time, the twins became well-loved in their school. David's sharp wit and kind heart, combined with Daniel's athletic skills and leadership, made them a dynamic duo. Yet their journey was not without hurdles. Some children teased David, calling him Ghost or Sun Child, poking fun at his sensitivity to light. At first, the words stung. Daniel often intervened, standing tall beside his brother. "You're just jealous because he shines brighter than you," he would say, silencing the bullies. David, however, took a different approach. He decided to educate his classmates about albinism. With the help of his teacher, he created a small presentation, showing pictures of others with albinism and explaining that it was simply another way the human body could be. "Being different isn't something to be afraid of," David said as he concluded his talk. "It's something to celebrate." His words struck a chord. The teasing stopped, replaced by admiration for David's courage. Finding their paths. As the twins grew older, their personalities and interests began to take distinct shapes. Daniel was outgoing and athletic, excelling in soccer and dreaming of one day representing Nigeria in the World Cup. He practiced tirelessly, his movements on the field precise and powerful. David, on the other hand, was quieter and more reflective. He loved to draw, spending hours sketching scenes from their neighborhood or creating imaginary worlds. His art often featured themes of light and shadow, reflecting the dynamic that defined their lives. Their parents nurtured these passions, ensuring each boy felt seen and supported. David often played soccer with Daniel in the evenings, while Stacy encouraged David to experiment with colors and textures in his art. Yet, their differences also brought moments of tension. Daniel sometimes grew frustrated with the extra attention David received because of his albinism. "Why do people always notice him first?" he once asked his mother. Stacy knelt down and placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder. "People notice David because he's different," she said gently. "But you, my son, are his protector, his anchor. Without you, he wouldn't be as strong. Both of you are special in your own ways, and together, you're unstoppable." Daniel nodded, understanding his mother's wisdom. From that day forward, he embraced his role as David's champion, knowing their bond was their greatest strength. A journey to acceptance. One pivotal moment in the twins' journey came during a school talent show. David wanted to perform a spoken-word piece he had written about being different, but he was nervous. "What if they laugh at me?" he asked Daniel. "They won't," Daniel said firmly. "And even if they do, I'll be there to cheer the loudest." On the night of the show, David stepped onto the stage, his golden hair shining under the spotlight. His voice trembled at first, but as he spoke, his confidence grew. "I am light, shining bright. I am shadow, strong and bold. Together we are a miracle. Two hearts, one soul." The room erupted in applause, with Daniel whistling and cheering the loudest. It was a defining moment for David, one that solidified his belief in himself. The call to inspire. As the years passed, the twins' story began to attract attention beyond Lagos. Journalists wrote about them, and their photos appeared in magazines. People from around the world reached out, sharing how the twins' journey had inspired them. One day, the family received an invitation to speak at an international conference on diversity and inclusion. Nervous but excited, the twins agreed. In front of a packed audience, they shared their story. "We were born different," Daniel began. "But that doesn't define us. What defines us is how we love, how we care for each other, and how we see the world." David added, "Difference isn't something to fear. It's a gift. It's what makes the world beautiful. We hope our story reminds you to celebrate the things that make you unique." Their words resonated deeply, and by the end of the conference, the twins had become symbols of hope and unity. Leaving a legacy. Now teenagers, Daniel and David continue to embrace their roles as advocates for acceptance and understanding. Daniel is on track to join a national soccer team, while David's artwork has been featured in exhibitions. Despite their individual successes, they remain each other's greatest supporters. One evening, as the family gathered around the dinner table, Stacy looked at her sons with pride. "You've both grown into remarkable young men," she said. "The world needs more of your light and strength." Daniel smiled. "That's because we've always had you and Dad guiding us." "And each other," David added, reaching for his brother's hand. As the Omeron family laughed and shared stories, it was clear that their journey was far from over. Together, they would continue to shine, proving that love, resilience, and unity could overcome any obstacle. In the end, the story of Daniel and David reminds us all that life's most profound lessons often come from the most unexpected places. Their journey teaches us to see beyond appearances, to embrace our differences, and to celebrate the unique beauty in every individual. For in the tapestry of humanity, it is our diversity that makes us truly extraordinary, building bridges, changing perspectives. By the time Daniel and David reached their teenage years, their story had evolved into something far greater than their family could have anticipated. What began as a tale of unique appearances had grown into a movement for inclusion, acceptance, and the celebration of diversity. Their journey was no longer just about them. It was about the countless lives they touched and the barriers they helped break. The power of their voice. At 16, Daniel and David were invited to a global youth summit in Johannesburg, South Africa, where young leaders from around the world gathered to share ideas for building a more inclusive future. The twins were slated as keynote speakers, a testament to the impact of their message. As they prepared for the summit, the brothers reflected on their journey. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" Daniel asked one evening as they sat on the balcony of their home, the bustling streets of Lagos alive below. David nodded. "Every day. But it's not just about us anymore. It's about what we can do for others." The summit marked a turning point. Standing before an audience of thousands, the twins shared their story. Not just the joys, but also the struggles and lessons learned. "Growing up, we didn't always feel understood," David began. "People saw our differences before they saw who we were, but we learned that our differences are our greatest strength." Daniel stepped forward, his voice steady and confident. "We realize that by embracing what makes us unique, we can inspire others to do the same. Our story isn't just about being twins with different skin tones. It's about the power of unity and diversity." Their words resonated deeply, sparking conversations that continued long after the summit ended. Young people from different backgrounds approached them with gratitude, sharing how the twins had inspired them to embrace their own identities, overcoming adversity together. Despite their growing influence, life was not without challenges. As public figures, the twins faced criticism and skepticism from those who struggled to understand their message. Some accused them of exploiting their story, while others dismissed their impact as superficial. The backlash was difficult to navigate, especially for Daniel, whose confidence sometimes masked his vulnerability. "Why do some people refuse to see the good in what we're doing?" he asked one night, frustration etched on his face. David placed a reassuring hand on his brother's shoulder. "Because not everyone is ready to change. But that doesn't mean we stop trying. Every person we reach matters, even if it's just one." The twins leaned on their family for support during tough times. Stacy, ever the source of wisdom, reminded them of their purpose. "The world needs your voices," she said. "Focus on the people you're helping, not the ones who resist." This advice became their mantra, guiding them through moments of doubt, creating a platform for change. Inspired by their experiences, Daniel and David launched an initiative called Colors of the Heart, a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting acceptance and unity. The organization worked to provide resources for families with children who faced discrimination due to their appearance or identity. One of their first projects was a school outreach program, where the twins spoke to students about the importance of empathy and inclusion. Through interactive workshops, they encouraged young people to share their own stories and find strength in their differences. The program quickly gained momentum, expanding to other countries. Soon, Colors of the Heart was not just a name but a movement, with thousands of young people joining the cause. Daniel and David also used their platform to advocate for better education about albinism and other conditions that made people feel isolated or misunderstood. They collaborated with scientists, educators, and community leaders to dispel myths and combat stigma. Personal dreams and collective goals. While their work with Colors of the Heart flourished, the twins remained committed to their personal dreams. Daniel's dedication to soccer paid off when he was recruited to play for a top Nigerian club. His speed, precision, and leadership on the field made him a standout player, and his team eventually qualified for an international tournament. David, meanwhile, continued to hone his artistic talents. His paintings, often inspired by themes of light and shadow, gained international acclaim. One of his most celebrated works, titled Two Worlds, One Soul, depicted a pair of intertwined hands, one dark, one light, reaching toward the sky. It was featured in a major art exhibition in Paris, where critics praised its emotional depth and universal message. Despite their individual successes, the twins never lost sight of their shared mission. They used their respective platforms, sports and art, to amplify their message of unity. Daniel often spoke about teamwork and camaraderie in interviews, while David's exhibitions featured talks on the beauty of diversity. A moment of triumph. The culmination of their efforts came when the twins were invited to speak at the United Nations. It was an opportunity to address global leaders and advocate for a world where everyone, regardless of their differences, felt valued and included. As they walked onto the grand stage, the room erupted in applause. Daniel and David stood side by side, a living embodiment of their message. "Our story began with a simple truth," Daniel said, "that love and acceptance start at home. But what we've learned is that this truth can change the world." David added, "We may come from different places, speak different languages, or look different on the outside. But inside, we all share the same dreams: to be seen, heard, and loved. Together, we can build a future where those dreams are possible for everyone." The audience rose to its feet, their applause echoing long after the twins left the stage. It was a moment of triumph, not just for Daniel and David, but for every person who had ever felt different or alone. The legacy of light and shadow. Today, Daniel and David's story continues to inspire. Their organization, Colors of the Heart, has grown into a global network, connecting people from all walks of life. Their speeches, art, and advocacy have left an indelible mark on the world, proving that unity is not just an ideal but a tangible goal. At the heart of their journey is a simple yet powerful lesson: that our differences are not barriers but bridges, connecting us to one another in profound and meaningful ways. Daniel and David Omeran, twins of light and shadow, remind us that when we embrace what makes us unique, we unlock the potential to create a brighter, more inclusive future for all, transforming the world one step at a time. As the years unfolded, Daniel and David Omeran's story became a beacon of hope, not only for their community in Lagos, but for people across the globe. Their message of unity, diversity, and resilience resonated far beyond the boundaries of their beginnings, inspiring individuals and movements alike. Yet, the twins were not content to stop at inspiration. They sought to leave an enduring legacy of change, turning dreams into action. With the growing success of their nonprofit, Colors of the Heart, Daniel and David began to think bigger. They envisioned a world where acceptance was not just an idea but a way of life. To achieve this, they set out to expand their initiatives, focusing on systemic change. One of their first major projects was the Diversity Education Initiative. This program aimed to integrate lessons on inclusion and empathy into school curriculums, starting in Nigeria and gradually expanding to other countries. The twins collaborated with educators, psychologists, and curriculum developers to create materials that taught children about the beauty of diversity through stories, art, and interactive activities. In one memorable session at a rural school in northern Nigeria, David shared his own experiences with albinism. He showed the children his artwork and talked about how he used his unique perspective to create beauty. A young girl with vitiligo approached him afterward, her eyes brimming with tears. "You make me feel like I belong," she said softly. Daniel, too, found his calling in mentoring young athletes. He launched a program called Unity Through Sport, which brought together children from different backgrounds to play soccer and learn teamwork. On the field, it doesn't matter where you're from or what you look like, he told them. All that matters is how we work together. Bridging gaps across borders. As their initiatives gained momentum, the twins began to travel extensively. They visited countries where issues of discrimination and inequality were deeply entrenched, hoping to plant seeds of change. From the bustling cities of India to remote villages in South America, their presence brought people together in ways that transcended language and culture. In a small community in Brazil, the twins organized an art and sports festival to celebrate local talent. David worked with young artists to create a mural that depicted unity through diversity, while Daniel led a soccer tournament that culminated in a game where children and adults played side by side. "It's not just about showing up," Daniel said during one of their trips. "It's about listening, learning, and leaving behind tools for people to continue the work." David added, "Everywhere we go, we see that people share the same hope, to be accepted for who they are. That hope is universal, and it's what drives us." Personal growth amid global impact. While their work flourished, the twins also experienced profound personal growth. By now in their late 20s, they had begun to reflect on their own identities and the paths they had chosen. Daniel, who had become a professional soccer player and a vocal advocate for youth empowerment, struggled to balance his career with the demands of their nonprofit. "I feel like I'm being pulled in two directions," he confided to David one evening. David, who had gained international recognition as an artist, understood his brother's dilemma. "You don't have to choose one over the other," he said. "Your work on the field inspires people just as much as your work off it. Both are part of who you are." The conversation marked a turning point for Daniel, who began to see his dual roles as complementary rather than conflicting. He used his platform as an athlete to amplify the mission of Colors of the Heart, often dedicating his matches to causes related to inclusion and acceptance. For David, the challenge was finding balance in a different way. His art had become a powerful tool for advocacy, but it also required solitude and introspection. "Sometimes, I feel like the world is watching too closely," he admitted to Daniel. "You don't have to carry it all alone," Daniel replied. "We're a team, remember. Lean on me when you need to." A defining challenge. The twins' resolve was tested when a controversy erupted around one of their campaigns. A promotional video for Colors of the Heart, which featured children with various physical and cultural differences, was criticized by a small but vocal group for being too idealistic and unrealistic. Social media buzzed with debates, some supportive and others harsh. The backlash hit Daniel and David hard. "Are we doing enough?" Daniel questioned. "Or are we just painting a picture that people don't want to see?" David, though equally shaken, remained resolute. "Change is never easy," he said. "It's uncomfortable because it challenges people to see the world differently. If we're not facing resistance, we're not making progress." To address the criticism, the twins organized a live panel discussion featuring voices from diverse backgrounds. They invited activists, scholars, and community leaders to share their perspectives, fostering a dialogue that was both honest and constructive. The event turned the tide, shifting the focus from the controversy to the importance of their mission. "You've shown that unity isn't just a dream. It's a goal worth striving for," one attendee told them. The ripple effect. Years later, the impact of Daniel and David's work was undeniable. Schools across Nigeria and beyond had adopted the Diversity Education Initiative, transforming how children understood and celebrated differences. The Unity Through Sport program had grown into an international network, connecting young athletes from over 30 countries. David's art continued to inspire, with his pieces displayed in galleries and public spaces worldwide. One of his most famous works, "The Bridge We Build," depicted two hands, one light, one dark, holding a globe. It became a symbol of their movement, embodying the idea that the world's strength lies in its diversity. Daniel, now a celebrated soccer coach, used his platform to mentor the next generation of leaders. His players often spoke of how his lessons on teamwork and respect extended beyond the field, shaping their character and worldview. The enduring legacy. As they approached their 40s, the twins reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. Sitting together under the same stars that had lit their childhood nights in Lagos, they marveled at how their lives had unfolded. "We started with a story about two boys who looked different," Daniel said. "And now, it's about millions of people finding strength in their own differences." David nodded. "It's not just our legacy. It's everyone's. Every person who's joined this movement, every child who's felt seen, every bridge that's been built. That's what matters." Their journey serves as a reminder that true change begins with understanding and grows through action. Daniel and David's story, a tale of light and shadow, of challenges and triumphs, continues to inspire a world that is learning to celebrate its many colors, one step at a time. A world forever change. By the time Daniel and David Almiron reached their 50s, their legacy was woven into the fabric of communities and cultures around the world. What had started as a simple story of twins born with different appearances had blossomed into a global movement that redefined the way people understood diversity, acceptance, and the power of unity. The brothers, now seasoned leaders and mentors, reflected on the remarkable journey that had shaped not only their lives, but the lives of millions. A new chapter of leadership. As the twins matured, their roles and colors of the heart evolved. No longer the wide-eyed youths embarking on a mission to change the world, they had become pillars of wisdom, guiding the next generation of leaders. The organization had grown exponentially, with chapters in over 50 countries and partnerships with global institutions like the United Nations and UNESCO. Daniel, now a sought-after motivational speaker and advocate, often spoke about the importance of resilience and teamwork. He combined his years of experience as an athlete and coach to teach others how to bridge divides and foster collaboration. At international conferences, he shared powerful anecdotes from his life, illustrating how understanding and empathy could dismantle even the most entrenched prejudices. David, on the other hand, had embraced his role as a visionary artist and storyteller. His work had transcended galleries, appearing in public installations, community projects, and even digital media. Through his art, he continued to explore themes of light and shadow, connection, and identity. His most ambitious project, The Human Mosaic, was a global collaborative effort that invited people from every continent to contribute artwork representing their unique cultures and experiences. The final piece, displayed in a rotating exhibition across the world, symbolized humanity's interconnectedness. Empowering the next generation. Recognizing the importance of sustaining their mission, Daniel and David dedicated much of their later years to mentoring young leaders. They established the Light and Shadow Fellowship, a year-long program that provided training and resources to individuals passionate about promoting inclusion and equality in their communities. The fellows came from diverse backgrounds: activists, artists, educators, and even technology innovators. Each brought unique perspectives and skills, and together, they worked to develop initiatives that addressed local challenges while contributing to a global vision. One fellow, Amina, came from a small village in Kenya, where children with albinism often faced discrimination and violence. Inspired by David's journey, she launched a campaign to educate her community about albinism and provide support for affected families. Through her work, she not only changed attitudes but also created opportunities for children with albinism to thrive. Another fellow, Alejandro, was a young programmer from Argentina who used technology to develop a virtual reality experience that allowed users to step into the shoes of people from different backgrounds. His project became a cornerstone of Colors of the Heart's educational initiatives, helping students around the world develop empathy and understanding. Personal triumphs and reflections. Despite their global impact, Daniel and David remained deeply connected to their roots. They often returned to Lagos, where their story began, to spend time with family and reconnect with the community that had shaped them. Their parents, Stacy and Babajid, now elderly but as proud as ever, often joined them in reflecting on the journey. "Do you remember the day you were born?" Stacy asked during one family gathering. "I never could have imagined that those tiny miracles in my arms would one day touch the whole world." Babajid chuckled. "You two were always special, not just because of how you looked, but because of your hearts. That's what the world saw, your hearts." For Daniel, life had come full circle. He had married and raised 3 children, all of whom were involved in Colors of the Heart in some capacity. His eldest son, Emmanuel, had followed in his footsteps, becoming a soccer player and using his platform to advocate for social change. David, too, had found fulfillment in both his personal and professional life. Though he had chosen a quieter path, he cherished the moments when he could mentor young artists and share his story. He often joked that his paintings spoke louder than he ever could. The challenge of legacy. As the world changed, so did the challenges facing Colors of the Heart. While progress had been made, issues of inequality, prejudice, and misunderstanding still persisted. Daniel and David knew their work was far from over. They began to focus on sustainability, ensuring that their mission would continue long after they were gone. They collaborated with governments, corporations, and grassroots organizations to embed their principles into policies and practices. They also worked to digitize their educational programs, making them accessible to even the most remote communities. One of their proudest achievements was the establishment of the Omeron Institute for Diversity and Inclusion, a research and training center that provided tools and knowledge to tackle systemic discrimination. The institute became a hub for innovation, bringing together experts from various fields to develop solutions that addressed the root causes of inequality. A global celebration. In their 60s, Daniel and David were honored with the Global Humanitarian Award, recognizing their decades of service and unwavering commitment to building a more inclusive world. The ceremony, held in Geneva, brought together leaders, activists, and supporters from every corner of the globe. As they stepped onto the stage to accept the award, the twins paused to take in the moment. The audience was a mosaic of faces, each representing a different culture, background, and story. It was a living testament to the ideals they had championed. In their acceptance speech, Daniel said, "This award is not just for us. It's for everyone who has ever dared to embrace what makes them different, for everyone who has chosen love over fear, and for everyone who believes in a world where every person is valued." David added, "Our journey began with 2 boys born in Lagos, but it was never just about us. It's about all of us, every shade, every story, every dream. Together, we are the light and shadow that make this world beautiful, the light that endures." Daniel and David Omeron's story did not end with them. The seeds they planted continued to grow, inspiring new generations to carry forward the mission of unity and acceptance. Their legacy lived on in the art, programs, and communities they helped create, as well as in the countless lives they touched. Years after their passing, their names became synonymous with hope. Schools named after them taught children to celebrate diversity. Annual events commemorated their contributions, bringing people together to reflect on the power of connection. And somewhere in Lagos, under the same sky that had watched over their journey, a mural of 2 intertwined hands, one dark, one light, stood as a reminder that even in the face of challenges, humanity's greatest strength lies in its unity. For in the story of Daniel and David Omeron, the world found not just a tale of 2 brothers, but a guide to becoming better together. The eternal flame of unity. Decades after Daniel and David Omeron's transformative journey began, their legacy had grown into something timeless, a movement that transcended generations, continents, and ideologies. Their story, once a tale of 2 brothers with different appearances, had evolved into a symbol of hope, unity, and the boundless potential of humanity. Though the twins were no longer physically present, their influence remained palpable in the hearts and minds of people around the world. Their vision of a more inclusive, compassionate world continued to flourish, fueled by the countless lives they had inspired. Generations inspired. The colors of the Heart Foundation had become a cornerstone of global advocacy, education, and empowerment. By the time the foundation marked its 50th anniversary, its initiatives had reached over 100 million people, fostering empathy and collaboration in ways that even Daniel and David might not have imagined. One of the foundation's most impactful programs was the Global Youth Ambassadors Initiative, which trained young leaders to champion diversity and inclusion in their own communities. Ambassadors from every continent carried forward the twins' message, using their unique talents and platforms to effect change. One such ambassador was Maria, a teenager from Greece who had grown up facing bullying because of her physical disability. Inspired by Daniel and David's story, she started a campaign to create accessible playgrounds for children with disabilities. Her efforts garnered international attention, leading to policy changes in her country. Another ambassador, Kwame, from Ghana, used his passion for storytelling to produce a documentary about the beauty of cultural differences. His film, Many Colors, One Heart, won awards at international film festivals and became a teaching tool in schools around the world. A world transformed. Daniel and David's philosophy of unity had permeated every level of society. Governments adopted policies rooted in inclusivity, ensuring that marginalized communities were given the support and recognition they deserved. Schools taught empathy and understanding as core values, using the twins' story as a case study in overcoming adversity. In the business world, companies began to prioritize diversity and equity, recognizing that inclusion was not just a moral imperative, but also a driver of innovation and success. The Omeron Index, a tool developed by the Twins Foundation, became a global standard for measuring inclusivity within organizations. Businesses that scored high on the index were celebrated, while those that fell short were given resources to improve. The arts, too, bore the imprint of Daniel and David's influence. Musicians wrote songs inspired by their story, while filmmakers and authors created works that explored themes of connection and acceptance. David's artwork, which had once been displayed in galleries, now adorned public spaces, museums, and even currency in some countries, serving as a daily reminder of the twins' impact. The virtual legacy. As technology advanced, Daniel and David's message found new ways to reach people. The foundation partnered with innovators to create Unityverse, a virtual reality experience that allowed users to walk through key moments in the twins' lives. From their childhood in Legos to their global advocacy efforts, the immersive experience helped participants understand the challenges and triumphs that shaped their journey. Unityverse became a sensation, used in schools, workplaces, and community centers to foster empathy and spark conversations about diversity. One particularly moving moment in the experience allowed users to see the world through David's eyes, highlighting both the beauty and challenges of living with albinism. The virtual experience became a powerful tool for change, bridging gaps in understanding and inspiring action in ways that were deeply personal. A homecoming of the soul. In Lagos, the city where it all began, the twins' memory was celebrated with an annual festival called the Light and Shadow Celebration. The festival brought together people from all walks of life to honor the values the twins had championed: love, acceptance, and unity. The heart of the festival was a massive parade featuring floats that depicted scenes from the twins' lives. Children dressed in bright colors danced alongside the floats, embodying the spirit of hope and joy that Daniel and David had spread throughout their lives. One year, during the festival's closing ceremony, a holographic projection of the twins appeared, delivering a timeless message. Their voices, preserved through recordings, echoed across the crowd. Each of us is a thread in the tapestry of humanity. Together, we create something beautiful, something stronger than any one of us alone. Never forget that your differences are your strength. Let love guide you, and the world will flourish. The crowd erupted in applause, many wiping tears from their eyes. The message served as a powerful reminder that the twins' presence, though no longer physical, was eternal. Legacy beyond time. As the years turned into centuries, Daniel and David Omeron's story became enshrined in history books, taught alongside lessons about great leaders and movements that had shaped the world. Their names were etched into monuments, their words quoted in speeches, and their vision carried forward by every new generation. But their greatest legacy wasn't found in statues or textbooks. It lived in the everyday actions of people who chose to see the world through a lens of empathy. It lived in the child who stood up for a classmate, the artist who painted stories of connection, the athlete who used their platform to bring people together, and the leader who chose compassion over division. In every corner of the globe, their message endured, that differences are not a barrier, but a bridge. That love, when nurtured, has the power to unite even the most divided hearts. A world they dreamed of. Long after their passing, the world Daniel and David envisioned had come to life. It was a world where children no longer feared being different, where communities celebrated their unique identities, and where people worked together to create a brighter future. Though the twins were no longer there to witness it, their legacy burned brightly in every act of kindness, every step toward understanding, and every life touched by their message. For in the story of Daniel and David Omeron, the world had found its guiding light, a reminder that even the smallest sparks of love and unity can ignite a flame that burns forever. The light lives on. As the world carried forward the legacy of Daniel and David Almiron, their story became not just a testament to their lives, but a blueprint for generations to come. It was a tale of two brothers whose differences taught humanity a universal truth, that our strength lies in our diversity, and our unity is the key to a brighter future. A final reflection. On what would have been their 100th birthday, the Almiron brothers were commemorated in a global celebration. Across cities and villages, people gathered to honor their memory, sharing stories, art, music, and acts of kindness inspired by their lives. The event, called the Day of Unity, was a reminder of how far the world had come, and how much further it could still go. In Lagos, a memorial was unveiled, a sculpture of two intertwined hands, one dark and one light, holding a globe. The inscription read, "In every heart lies the power to unite. Let love guide your journey, and the world will follow." As people laid flowers at the base of the monument, a young girl asked her mother, "Who were Daniel and David?" Her mother smiled, kneeling to meet her daughter's eyes. They were brothers who taught the world to see beauty in every difference. They showed us that love is bigger than fear, and that together, we can create something extraordinary. The girl nodded thoughtfully. "I want to be like them someday." Her mother placed a hand on her shoulder. "You already are. Every time you choose kindness, every time you stand up for what's right, you're carrying their light." The lesson they left behind. The story of Daniel and David Almiron is a reminder that greatness doesn't come from perfection, but from the courage to embrace what makes us unique. Their journey teaches us several enduring lessons. Differences are strengths. Instead of dividing us, our differences make us stronger. By embracing diversity, we create a richer, more vibrant world. Unity requires action. Change doesn't happen by accident. It takes effort, empathy, and a willingness to listen to one another. Legacy is built through love. True impact is measured not by fame or fortune, but by the lives we touch and the love we leave behind. Every voice matters. No matter how small or insignificant we may feel, our actions can spark ripples that change the world. The eternal flame. Though Daniel and David are no longer here, their light lives on in the hearts of those they inspired. Their story reminds us that even the most unexpected journeys can lead to extraordinary places, and that the most profound lessons often come from the simplest truths. As the world continues to grow and change, the Almiron brothers remain a guiding light, showing us that no matter our differences, we are all part of the same human family. Their message endures. Together, we are stronger. Together, we are one. And so, the story of Daniel and David Almiron, twins of light and shadow, comes to a close, not as an ending, but as a beginning for all of us to carry forward their vision and build a world where every person feels seen, valued, and loved. This concludes the story. Thank you for watching until the end. I hope you found it enjoyable. If you did, please consider liking the video and sharing it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell for more captivating stories. Have a great day.